Today we're going to start solving multi-step equations. Our goal is to be able to write and solve them, but today we're only going to talk about solving them. So before we begin, let's go over some vocabulary very quickly. There are two properties that we use that help us solve equations, and all they tell us is that we can add and multiply any numbers in any order that we want. So if you remember, the commutative property says you can have any two numbers, a plus b, whatever those are, and you can flip the order, b plus a. And that also works for multiplication. So you can have a times b, and that's the same thing as b times a. If you don't believe me, put two numbers in there, and I promise it'll work. Building off of the commutative property, we now have the associative property, which tells us, my computer doesn't want to work, that if I have any three numbers, a plus b plus c, I can add the first two, and I will get the same answer as if I add the last two. And the same with multiplication. Now, why is that valuable to us? Well, in solving an equation, we want to be able to move the numbers around if we have to add and multiply them. So anytime you have a list of numbers that you're adding together, you don't have to add them in order. So for example, if I have 7 plus 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 1, I don't have to go left to right. I can say, well, I know that 4 plus 1 is 5, and 5 plus 5 is 10, and 7 plus 3 is 10, so the answer is 20. The same thing works with multiplication. You can multiply them in any order. So remembering that, let's practice the distributive property. So go ahead and try these 6 problems on your own. Pause the video, solve them, and then play the video, and I will have the answers for you. Okay, if you look at the first two answers, I gave them for you, or to you. So I have 2 times 3 plus 9x, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 9x is 18. Or you can think 3 plus 9x 2 times is 6 plus 18x. Same with this one, I have negative 1 minus 4b 3 times. So if I have negative 1 3 times, that gives me negative 3. And if I have negative 4b 3 times, that gives me negative 12b. Now, if I have a negative number on the outside, you have to remember that you're either multiplying by negative 2 or you're taking the opposite of 2 times it. So however that works for you. So negative 2 times 6n would be negative 12n minus 6. Same with negative 5. So you're taking y plus 3 5 times and then taking the opposite of it. Or you're taking negative 5 times y and times 3. So negative 5y minus 15. Just remember that you're multiplying everything in the parentheses. Now, the negative outside of the parentheses, that's a negative 1. So I'm taking v minus 4 one time. So I have v minus 4. But because it's a negative 1, that means I want the opposite of it. So I have negative v plus 4. So you could tell yourself the opposite of v and the opposite of negative 4. This one has the number to the right. That's totally okay. If it bugs you, you can rewrite it on the left, but you don't have to. So I have 5 plus 3q 6 times. So if I have 5 6 times, that gives me 30. And if I have 3q 6 times, that gives me 18 q's. All right, now we're going to use it to solve equations. This is where it becomes fun because now we can use it to solve. So if I look, I'm going to look at one side of my equation. So I draw my line, and I have one side of my equation. Oh, look, it's changing colors. I don't know why, but I can't get it to move now. Let's try that again. All right. So I'm going to simplify just the left side. So I have 4 times the quantity m plus 3. So I'm going to take m plus 3 4 times, which means I have 4 m's and 4 3's is 12. That equals negative 32. Now it's just a two-step equation, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because at this point you should know how to solve these. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. The 4m drops down. These cancel. 12 and negative 12 is 1, or 0, sorry. And negative 32 and negative 12 is negative 44. Now you can ask yourself 4 times what number gives you negative 44? If you're not sure, do inverse operation. Instead of 4 times m, you're going to divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times m is m. Negative 44 divided by 4 is negative 11. Check your work by plugging it back into the original equation for m. So I have 4 times, instead of m plus 4, I'm going to have negative 11 plus, 3 equals negative 32. Go ahead and solve that. Negative 11 plus 3 is negative 8. I'm just recopying. Now I have 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. That does equal negative 32. So I put a little check mark just so I know that I did check it and it's correct. Let's look at the next one. Again, we're going to start at the equal, holy moly. We're going to start at the equal sign there. Move my screen over. I'm just looking at one side at a time. It kind of helps me focus. So now I have negative 2 times x minus 9. So I'm going to have x minus 9 2 times, but the opposite of it. Or you can just, for this one, I will do the distributing. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 9 is positive 18. That equals negative 24. Two-step equation. Minus 18 from both sides. Negative 2x drops down. Positive 18. Negative 18 gives me 0. I have negative 24 and negative 18, so 8 plus 4 is 12. Carry the 1. Negative 42. Divide both sides by negative 2. And you get positive 21. Plug that in. I get negative 2 times 21 minus 9 equals negative 24. 21 minus 9 is 12 times negative 2 equals negative 24. Negative 2 times 12 is negative 24 equals negative 24. I am correct. Okay, now we can solve this equation. Again, start with your line, draw your line. Now we're going to look at the left side. I can simplify. I have 4 minus x 7 times, so that would be 4 times 7 is 28, and negative x times 7 is negative 7x's. And that equals negative 84, which I can't simplify. Two-step equation. Subtract 28 from both sides. 28 minus 28, that gives you 0. The negative 7x drops down. Negative 84 with a negative 28, add those together, you get negative 112. Now you want to get x by itself, so I don't personally know off the top of my head what number negative 7 times equals negative 112, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7, and I get x equals 16. Plug that back in for x, so I'm going to plug it in there to your original. 7 times 4 minus 16 equals negative 84. 4 minus 16 is negative 12. Negative 12 times 7 is negative 84, which equals negative 84. So you're checking to make sure that the left side is the same value as the right side. Now the next one. Whoops. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Again, draw your line. Use your screen. Oops, I have 15 on this side. I can't simplify that side. So I'm going to look at the other side. I have negative 3 times c minus 1. So I'm going to take negative 3 times c is negative 3c. And negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3 plus 9. Now in this one, I look at it and I say, hey, I can add those two together. I know what 3 plus 9 is. So that's negative 3c plus 12. Now if I look, I'm just going to bring my 15 down to stay nice and neat and organized. And it's a two-step equation. Now it's on the right-hand side, is where my variable is, so I'm eliminating what's on the right-hand side. So I have negative 12 from both sides, minus 12 to get rid of that. I get 3 equals negative 3c. Positive 12 and negative 12 is 0. I can look at this and say to myself, negative 3 times what will give me 3? I know that's positive 1. If you don't divide both sides by negative 3, I'm sorry, negative 1. And see, this is why you do it. C equals negative 1. It might have been a good idea to get it wrong so that when I checked it, we would know that it was wrong. I should get one wrong sometime soon. So I'm going to plug this back in. I get 15 equals negative 3 times negative 1 minus 1 plus 9. So follow your order of operations. 15 stays there. Negative 1 and negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6.